Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 8 of Project Ozone 3. I love just watching this thing go. It's so, I don't know, it just feels like successful, you know? Anyways, today we're gonna go on an adventure. So I said yesterday that I wanted to do some magic mods, and that's still true. I want to get into stuff like Botania here or Astral Sorcery. But these require all these mods to get into the other magic mods. We have to get various crystals from, I believe it's Lordcraft. This tab, yeah, simple crystals in all its various forms from Lordcraft. But to do that, we need to get to the Twilight Forest, which is in. I've already forgotten what tab that was in. But to get to the Twilight Forest, we have to do a little bit more in Embers. Namely, we have to make a let me find it. Here we go. So to get into the Twilight Forest, we have to make a glimmer crystal from Embers, which is made in the exchange tablet, which is actually a pretty cool crafting mechanic. So how about I'll do some crafting, make ourselves an exchange tablet, and I'll show you what this page means and how to interpret it. So first things first, Alchemy in Embers uses a resource called Ash, and that's made by just shoving any item into a cinder plinth and basically burning it to ash. So I have a bunch of cobblestone, I'm just melting that down. The cinder plinth, like most Ember machines, requires Ember to work. So I have that just hooked into my Ember network, so to speak, and I'm piping ash out of it. We don't need a tremendous amount of it, but we will need a couple stacks. So here we go, this is making ash. Next up, we need a couple different blocks. First, and perhaps most interestingly, we need a beam cannon. We'll come back to that though. Then we need an exchange tablet and at least 2 alchemy pedestals. Although I tend to do 5 because I think that's the most any recipe will require. What you have to do then is supply the beam cannon with Ember, which I am doing, and you have to then aim the beam cannon at the exchange tablet. To do so, you take your Tinker's Hammer, shift right click the exchange tablet, and then regular right click the beam cannon, and you'll see that the pointy end gets pointed at it. You can actually use this to aim at any block using the same method. You know what? Before we get to the alchemy with the beam cannon, let's just talk about the beam cannon. I dislike a lot about Embers. I love the beam cannon. Not like in any practical sense. I think it's pretty useless, but it's pretty fun because you can aim it at anything. And then once it's supplied with Ember, if you flip the switch, this is gonna hurt. It shoots you. Well, I mean, it shoots. It shoots at what it's aimed at. And if I'm not wearing armor, that's actually easily enough damage to one-shot a player. So if you're playing on a server, you can set like traps where when a player activates a pressure plate, a beam cannon shoots them or something. I don't know. Again, there's very little practical use for this. Like you can use it to kill mobs in a mob trap, I guess. But there's 50 million easier ways to do that, right? It's just I guess it's fun to shoot people with. Maybe I'm a bad person. Today I learned. Anyways, what we want to do for the alchemy then is we need some number of these aspectuses. And each of these are made in a smeltery by pouring over Ember Shard the various metal type. So there's 5 types: Dawnstone, Lead, Iron, Copper, and Silver. But for making the Glimmer Crystal, we only need the Dawnstone type. Now since it, so I'll put the others away for now. So the way you read this recipe, it says that to make a glimmer crystal, it takes between 64 and 80 ash in a Dawnstone aspectus, plus these materials on the exchange tablet. So let's gather those materials. So what we have to do is start by putting the recipe into the exchange tablet. And let's check it again. So it's quartz in the middle, 2 gunpowder, 2 ember shards. I think the way it works is to put stuff in the middle, you right click it on the top of the block. And to put stuff on the sides, you right click it on the sides of the block. It's a little counterintuitive. You don't try to right click it into the actual slot there. And you'll see I put 2 recipes worth of ingredients in, and I'll show you why in a second. So next, you have to label your pedestals, basically. And that's when you, I'll show you other recipes. To make stuff, you have to, this recipe takes iron and copper asbestos. So, yeah, you have to label your pedestals. And all you have to do to do that is right-click them with the appropriate asbestos, and it gets placed there. Next, you have to look at the recipe and see how much ash it takes. And this one says it takes somewhere between 64 and 80, and the amount is randomly generated per server. So once you find out the right amount once, it'll always be that amount. But until you get the right amount once, you have to guess. So to guess, I always start on the extremely low end, because when you're done, it'll tell you how much you're off by. So I put 64 ash in one of the pedestals. Technically, I don't need the second one yet. And you shoot the thing. And this cool animation happens. And because the right amount of ash is almost definitely not 64, there's a 1 in 16 chance that it is. Instead of getting the item, we'll probably get like a failed result in just a second. The animation is pretty neat though. This is taking a fair bit longer than I remembered. Alright, here we go. So what we got was an alchemical waste, and it said Dawnstone inaccuracy 5 in the tooltip there. What that means is that the amount of ash we placed on the pedestal was off by 5. So since we did a stack last time, then we know it takes a stack plus 5, right? Because we did 64, we know it can't be less than 64 because that's outside this range. So 64 plus 5 is 69, or a stack and 5. And then we put the there we go. We put the ash into these 2 pedestals now, and then we fire it again. And this time we should get the actual item, not a failed alchemical waste. Whee. And when I figure out the right recipes, I want to write them down somewhere. You could do it in like a book, but I do it with a sign usually. All right, there we go. And now we have a glimmer crystal. So the glimmer crystal is used to activate the portal for Twilight Forest. So let's go build that somewhere. If memory serves me right, the Twilight Forest portal is just a 2x2 water surrounded by flowers. And I don't know if it has to be all sides including corners or not, or just sides, but I seem to be short a dandelion. I know I have other flowers of some sort, I just don't know what they're called. Whatever. And then what you do is you toss the glimmer crystal inside. There we go. So with a strike of lightning, the portal is formed. And then you can pick your flowers back up afterwards if, I don't know, you don't want them lying on the ground for whatever reason. And there we had it, your Twilight Forest portal. Let's step in. And here we go. We are in the Twilight Forest. So, first of all, I think at least there used to be a mod in the pack that prevents flight in the Twilight Forest. But since our flight comes from a jetpack, it works. Which is, I don't know, a little cheaty, but fine by me. So the reason we came here wasn't because we actually need to do much in the Twilight Forest, but because we need these crystals, right? What are they called? These simple crystals. So simple crystals, they can be crafted, but we're not at that point yet. We can. There's a simple crystal ore. Here it is. That spawns in the Twilight Forest, and what we're looking for specifically is one of the mounds. Let's see if I can find one. We could also build the Twilight Forest map to make this slightly easier, but I think the mounds are pretty obvious from, to spot from the air. He says as he fails to find one. There we go. That's one of them. So my computer is a little slow at the terrain generation thing, so it might be a little bit laggy as I move around here. This is, I believe, a small mound. There are larger ones, but the small one will do for now. Before we step in, though, there's one other thing I want to make. And that's the Lantern of Paranoia. So with, you know what, let's head back to our base. I know we have these materials at home. Alright, so I got some slime pearls and molten cores from our mob farm. The Lantern of Paranoia automatically lights up dark things around you, but it uses torches in your inventory. That said, we have a lot of torches. And this will just make exploring those like cavern type areas much easier. So let's bring a bunch of torches with us, turn this on. Well, we'll turn it on when we get back. So let's head back to that mound. Alright, time to go cave dwelling. So if we turn this on, this will just automatically light things up around us, which is nice. And we can just bust our way in. I'm actually not quite sure what these mounds are for in... Oh, look at that. Crystals already. Anyways, I'm not quite sure what these mounds are for in actual Twilight Forest. Like, I don't think they're related to the progression in any way. But we need them now. And actually, since we have Vein Miner, let's just Vein Mine. And Twilight Forest is somewhat unique in that we get regular terrain generation in most of it. So let's put this crap away. And eat some food. So yeah, what we're looking for is that simple crystal ore. And we need a fair bit of that to get started in Lordcraft. So is this diamond? No, it's thorium. I think there may be some other ores that we are interested in that spawn in Twilight Forest, so I'm just gonna, mine some of this stuff up as we go. So I've gathered up almost 4 stacks of this. I think the most efficient way to do it actually doesn't involve one of the mounts. Just go anywhere in the Twilight Forest. Make sure you have a unbreakable pickaxe, and just vein mine cobblestone while eating food. And eventually it'll reveal some of that crystal. And in the process, too, keep an eye out for stuff like that. That's rock crystal from Astral Sorcery. We'll have to come back to that later. But it seems that rock crystal ore isn't terribly rare down here either. So when you spot this type of ore, this simple crystal deposit, make sure your pickaxe also has fortune or luck on it. No, it's fortune, right? Yeah, fortune's the enchant. Make sure it has fortune on it, and then just go ahead and mine it out. And again, this ore isn't terribly rare, but it's not like super common either. So as long as you have enough food and an unbreakable pickaxe, you can get a couple stacks in just, 5-10 minutes. It's not too bad. And once you have a little bit to get started with, at some point you can just craft this with the mod itself. So anyways, I think this is enough. Let's head back home. Lordcraft has a book, which I think serves both as its documentation and its research book. It's a pretty ugly looking book, if we're to be honest, but it kind of sort of mostly teaches you how to do the things in the mod. So we will refer to this at least from time to time, but I think the quest book also helps us a little bit. So the first thing that the quest book wants us to make are inscription tiles. And I took a look at this recipe, and it actually requires a bit. The recipe was tweaked for Kappa mode. So we need skystone blocks, which is made from smelting skystone, which is made by adding skystone dust to a lava barrel, which is what I set up here. I already had it previously set up making endstone, but I think I'll just switch it over to making skystone. So endstone was you put a glowstone into a bucket or into a barrel of lava, and skystone is you put skystone dust into a barrel of lava. So this is now making skystone, and I can put another drawer here to collect that. So that's the skystone taken care of. The other one though is ironwood ingots, and these are made by smelting raw ironwood materials, which means we actually do have to go back to the Twilight Forest and gather up some more of this live root, We can either... Actually, let's see. Is there a way I can farm this? Doesn't look like it. Never mind. I mean, we could go the Flux Phytogrow route, but I don't think live root is that hard to find in the Twilight Forest, is it? Let's go take a look, see if we can find some. We need that to make the ironwood for inscription tiles, and we need a lot of these, like a couple hundred at the minimum. So if memory serves me right, one of the easiest ways to find live root is just to dig up the dirt around one of these massive trees. And underneath, there tends to be at least some. So what we have here, these are just normal roots, right? That's not quite what we want. If we cut this, do we get live root under it? Nope, maybe that's not how you get it, huh? Let me see if I can find something. Well, while we're here, we may as well kill the Naga. Be a pretty easy fight. You know, the teleporting is a little annoying when fighting stuff like this. Like after every hit, she's gone. Alright, screw that, let's just use the sword. Where exactly is the Naga? I appear to have lost it. Well, better luck next time. Here we have some. So while exploring caves in the Twilight Forest, what you're looking for are these roots. Not any roots, but specifically the ones that have this like slight greenish color to them. And I think when you break these, you get live root. And I don't know if that's affected by fortune or not. But at least it doesn't appear to be. So they are reasonably rare, actually. Maybe we should try to come up with an alternate way of making this. I spent maybe 5 minutes looking, and that was actually the first like bunch of live root I found. Well, here's a bit more. Anyways, let's see if we can find enough for our uses. Actually killing the Naga for real this time, maybe. I need to make a better weapon. Maybe I'll make that laser gun sooner rather than later. Come on, Naga. Alright, this fight's gonna take forever. Almost there. So I'm deciding to kill the Naga and go after some of the bosses, because I think it might be easier to find the living roots in the Minotaur caves. So first we have to kill the Naga boss, and then I think next is the Lich boss, so let's head over to the tower. Alright, here's the Lich tower. Usually he's right at the top, and since we can fly, I'm not going to do the whole tower, I'm just going to fly to the top and break in. There he is. So I think phase 1 involves like reflecting his projectiles at him or something. I vaguely remember and mostly forgot how to do this fight. Yeah, there we go. You have to reflect his projectiles at him. Anyway, this is a pretty boring fight, so I'll just see you at the end of it. Well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is I got him to phase 2 and pretty low. Bad news is I hit him with my shuriken, and now I don't know where he is because he teleported away. I'm gonna spend a minute looking for him, and if I can't find him, I think I'm gonna have to go to another Lich's tower. Found him. Chilling outside his castle now. Quite a ways outside his castle. But now we can kill him. AI seems to have also broken now that he's not in his castle. But, oh well. So he's dead. I think that means we can now advance to the next stage. So yeah, I think that lets us go to the swamps. And did that give us an item? It did not. Okay. Well, anyways, let's see if it'll let us into the swamps now. Alright, here in the swamps, the next step is to do the maze. And I think for now, I'm not going to try to clear the maze. I'm just going to try to look for this living root in it. And a strange thing I noticed is that when I defeat these bosses, they weren't dropping their trophies. Which is weird because, for one, the trophies complete the quests. But I am getting the achievements, or the advancements, right? Which let me continue with the mod. So I'm not quite sure what's happening, but I don't know. I guess we'll just explore and find out. The reason I mentioned that though is because I know you need one of the trophies to unlock one of the next stages, like any trophy. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about that. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, I accidentally made it to the end of the maze without finding any, is that the boss? That is, right? Without finding any living roots, so I guess we'll just kill the boss here. He hurts. Ow. Can I just fly high enough that he can't hit me? I'm making sure not to hit him with my shuriken this time, so that he doesn't teleport somewhere else in the maze. I guess I can't fly high enough that he can't hit me. Alright, there we go. And he also did not drop a trophy, strangely enough. I wonder what's up with that. Anyways, I'm gonna collect my hard-earned loot, and we're gonna have to come up with another way, I think, to get the hey, there's an achievement, to get the live root that we need. Alright, well, I solved one of our problems. I was wondering why we weren't getting boss trophies. It's because this Emberatic Crystal Sword has Knowledge of the Ages on it, which makes things not drop loot. So that's a pretty useless sword. It makes them drop more experience instead. So we'll have to make a new sword, and we can kill any boss to get a trophy. Although it's kind of annoying because we have to redo the, re-kill the bosses for the quests. Not that like we have to do the quests or anything, but they give a fair amount of rack. Anyways, let's head back to the overworld and figure out how we want to go about making this live root. Alright, so the only other way to get live root besides getting it as a, drop in the Twilight Forest is to use this recipe in the phytogenic insulator. We need to make flux phyto grow, which is a little annoying, I think, because it takes this rich slag, which I don't see a tremendously easy way to farm it. I mean, I guess we could do something like our compass is easy. Okay, we can actually farm it with compasses. It's a little annoying because they don't stack. Either way, by using rich slag, we can make and roots, we can make this phyto grow. And I think roots come from growing any of the various bonsai trees or any of the various Twilight Forest trees in a bonsai pot. So it's only a 10% chance, which makes it a pretty rare drop. But if we pick one of the trees that grows fast, like the rainbow oak or any of the 15-second trees, right? The Twilight Mangrove, Canopy Tree, or Sickly Twilight. Do we have any of those? We have Sickly Twilight. There we go. So let's plant some of these trees. How do you use this? Alright, so let's plant a few of these, and then we'll get the, we'll hopefully be able to get the roots, and I'll make some of that phyto grow so that we can grow the roots ourselves. Alright, 16 stacks of phyto growth. We can, I think we can turn that into fluxed phyto grow. Perfect. And then this we'll use to grow the, wow, you can grow a lot of stuff with it. We'll use this to grow the living roots. So, The only thing left now is for our bonsai trees to grow enough to produce our roots. Looks like we only have a handful. What I'm going to do is move these over to our main bonsai farm and then just give it a couple hours to grow. This episode has taken a bit longer than I had planned to record, so I'm going to have to step away for a few hours. But conveniently, that gives our trees enough time to grow. So I'll be back in a few hours, and you'll be back in a few seconds. And we're back. Before we make that living wood, though, let's do something about our shuriken teleporting enemies problem. I want to try two things. First of all, I want to make the laser gun. So for this laser gun, which is here, it is in the list. I'm just totally blind. We're using Restonia crystal for the tool rod, End rod for the battery, Ender Dragon scales, which we got from the Ender Dragon, for the pipe piece, and more End rod for the laser medium. It's not like the best gun we can make, but it'll do for now. The other thing I want to do is I want to remove the vanishing trait from our shuriken. So I have to figure out which slot. Let's see. This one. And I replace it with an emeradic blade, which gives it vindictive. Sure. I mean, it's basically a non-trait. I don't think you heal off attacking mobs, but it gets rid of that vanishing trait, right? Which was causing enemies to teleport away. We lose direct too, but that's alright. So now when I hit things with this, sorry, Pigman, he stays in place. Alright, so let's see how much wood we've grown. Just over a stack, good enough for now. Alright, so by processing rich Phyto Glow with our roots, this will make our living root for us. And wow, that takes a lot of water. Let's speed that up a little. Better. Alright, so this will still take a little bit of time to process. It'll make at least one stack of living root. And another thing I noticed was that the repair material on our laser gun is only Ender Dragon. I thought it would also accept End Rod. So because of that, I'm thinking we want to make it unbreakable before we have to repair it once, because I don't have Ender Dragon scales left to repair it with. So let's go and head over to the hunting dimension and shoot some things. Alright, so the way the laser gun works is that, for one, you shoot the laser out of your forehead. But even while holding right click, I'm not sure if you can hear me click it, it doesn't shoot until your cursor is over an enemy. So you kind of just hold down right click and then walk over enemies and laser them. I wonder what it looks like in third person. I can't actually aim in third person because I don't have a crosshair to aim with. There we go. But then I can't see it. That was less successful than I expected. But anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna go around lasing some things. It seems to do more damage than the shuriken, I think. Let's compare. Yeah, it seems to do more damage than the shuriken as well. Right, it takes like 3 hits for the shuriken to kill mobs, whereas it only takes the laser gun 2. So that's nice. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and get one more modifier on this so we can make it unbreakable, and then we can head back. Our gun is unbreakable, and we have our living root finally. So with that, we can craft it into this living root materials. What are we out of? Out of iron of all things, wow. I think it's just I haven't moved it from this chest over for a while. Alright, so I'm hoping that we get 2 ingots out of we get 4 ingots out of each. Wow, that's actually a pretty good deal. So this will produce a stack of inscription tiles. We'll need more than that in the long run, but that's a good start for now. So let's craft those inscription tiles. We'll also need some of this sky stone. One stack of inscription tiles coming right up. And I guess I'll craft as many as I can. So these are used in the Book of Knowledge to conduct research. Let's see, under researching. No, not under researching. Let's see, what does it say? Research is done by first. Well, so it looks like first we have to make a arcane inscriber. Let's do that. So I think the way this works is that each of these tiles, by crafting it in the arcane inscriber, you like learn how to do it. And I think you can use the same inscription over and over again. You don't have to do this step, but it makes the next step easier. So I'm just gonna go craft all of these once, and then we can move on to the actual research portion. And Z, or Z for some of you. Anyways, to do research, first we open the book again and click on this research, not that research. And these are like the options that you can research. For now, we can only do, or we've already done basics. So I think green is done. This like gray color is unlockable, and the red color is locked. And I think we will basically do all of them. There are some mutual exclusivities, but honestly, I don't care. I don't really care for the features of this mod. I just want to use this mod because it's a progression gate for what we have to move on to. So we'll just start at the top left. And what this is we can, it tells us to draw an A, but I think, well, no, it looks like we do have to draw A. So A is a line from here to here. Draw A. And then you click it when you're done, I think, and it tells you to draw a Q. I thought because I did the inscription tiles, I won't have to do this. But this step kind of sucks. It's like a really unpleasant mini game. So Q here, if you look, the shape is like 2 lines on top, 4 lines on bottom. So you draw that. And tells you to do it again. Since you've already drawn it, wait, why did it teach me K? Oh, because I drew a K, not a Q. My bad. You do this. That's a Q. And it turns green. And once it turns green, you can just click it to start there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and draw all the things it asked me to do. So AQ, it looks like it's asking me to spell out aqua. It usually asks you to spell out a word. Alright, that did it. And you'll see it used up some of our inscription tiles in the process, which is why these are consumables, and we do need a fair number of them. Which makes me wonder what this arcane inscriber is for. But now you see that the water one is completed, and we've locked ourselves out of the other elements, at least for now. We'll get back to them. So I'm going to do as much of the research as I can, because it is honestly terribly boring. So see you when that's done. A little trick I remembered, once you've entered the thing once, you can actually re-enter it with the keyboard. So like to enter an A, you press A. So it makes this a little easier. Right, contraption. Yeah, so it's much easier than, clicking the letters individually. Now, every now and then you hit, a new letter you haven't used before. Like here, we have to enter V the first time. But it's still much faster than doing it all by hand. And with that, I'm down to my last few inscription tiles, which is not enough to do the next research. So why don't we wrap up this episode here? Between episodes, I'll do more research as we get more of these roots, and I'll hopefully be able to complete the book. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that keeps you from completing the book besides just having enough inscription tiles. So yeah, I'm sorry we didn't quite get as much done this episode as I had hoped, but I think we did lay the groundwork for a fair amount of magic, getting our way into Lordcraft and the Twilight Forest and stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.